back to the Daily Grind. Thanks for checking out the channel. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
Alright, shall we get to it? The UFC 218 fight weekend results and recap. Holy smokes, we've got so much to cover here, so this video might, or this audio I should say, might go on for a while, but let's get to it because there's a lot to cover. I don't know, I'm going to cover all the results of this weekend's fights as far as the Bellator 189, the Ultimate Fighter Season 26 finale, and also UFC 218. I'm going to cover the results of the main cards at least, and then probably talk a little bit about, what some of those fights mean. So, since there's a lot to talk about, let's get right into it, starting with Bellator 189, which I'll admit I only watched one fight on this card, as Bellator was competing with the UFC Ultimate Fighter Season 26 finale on the same night, and I was interested in a lot of those fights. I had to make sure for sure I watched Sean O'Malley's UFC debut, one of my favorite upcoming UFC prospects. Also, Brett Johns was on that card. I wanted to see his fight, which turned out to be crazy, which we'll talk about all of that coming up, but the one fight I had to make sure I watched on this Bellator card, and this was just me personally, because it was David Caveman Rickles versus Adam Piccolotti. Now why? It's because David Caveman Rickles fights out of Derby, Kansas. I was born and raised in Kansas, so I had to watch and support the hometown guy. I was rooting for him, of course, and he had a great performance, man. I was definitely glad that I tuned in and watched the fight. It was a great performance by David Caveman Rickles, man. It was an entertaining fight, and it was the first fight to open up the main card of the televised Spike Bellator main card of the night. So David Caveman Rickles fought Adam Piccolotti. David Caveman Rickles was stepping up and took that fight on short notice. I forget who Adam Piccolotti's originally scheduled opponent was, but David Rickles took the fight on short notice. But David Rickles was in a camp previously. He was supposed to fight Brennan Ward in Bellator. Brennan Ward pulled out, so David Caveman Rickles stayed ready, took the opportunity and seized the moment, got a unanimous decision. Looking forward to his next fight at Bellator. Now on to the rest of the card that I wasn't able to watch, unfortunately, due to the Ultimate Fighter season finale, which I switched over to. We had Chidi Njoku, I don't even know how to pronounce this dude's name, man. You see it on the screen. Chidi Njokuani versus Hisaki Kato. Chidi won by unanimous decision. We had Rafael Lovato Jr. He beat Chris Honeycutt via unanimous decision as well. And then another unanimous decision, which the descriptions that I read afterwards said it was an underwhelming split decision. Julia Budd defeated Arlene Blanchot. I believe she defended her Bellator featherweight title. So it was a night of decisions over there, but man, the Ultimate Fighter season finale was definitely not. Actually, we had a very, very rare submission when Brett Johns scored the second calf slicer submission in UFC history. That was a great fight. Brett the Pikey Johns was fighting Joe Soto, and it happened in like under 30 seconds. Joe Soto shot for like a single leg takedown, if I'm remembering correctly off the top of my head. Brett Johns like rolled into it and got a calf slicer in under 30 seconds. Crazy submission. That was dope to see, and that was one of the fights I was looking forward to, as Brett Johns remains undefeated in the UFC. And hey, he's got some attitude to him, man. I believe he's from Wales, right? If I'm not mistaken. I don't want to get it wrong, so I'm not even gonna, but I'm pretty sure I'm right there. So Brett the Pikey Johns, I'm looking forward for sure to his next fight. I was looking forward to this fight. So he got a big win in one of the fights I was looking forward to on the Ultimate Fighter Season 26 finale. Some of the other results on the night, for at least for the main card after the Brett Johns fight, was Deanna Bennett and Melinda Fabian fought to a majority draw. I remember in the first round, Melinda Fabian, I believe, landed a big head kick on Deanna Bennett. I hope I'm not getting that wrong and Deanna Bennett landed it, but I believe it was Melinda Fabian who landed the big head kick in the first round. And she, it looked like she was almost a walk-off knockout, but the ref didn't stop the fight. So if she would have continued up, she might have got the knockout victory in the first round. But she realized a little too late that the ref didn't stop it, and there was only like 5 to 10 seconds left. And it allowed the other woman enough time to recover and last to the next round, where they ended up fighting to a majority draw. Good fight, though. Gerald Meerschaert defeated Eric Spicely via TKO. Vicious body kick at 2:18 of round number 2. He landed repeated body kicks, but the second one, man, just shut the show down. It was a vicious kick. I know a lot of you guys commented on just that kick specifically, like, oh my god, you know, you gotta hold, that's one of them kicks you watch and you just gotta hold your fucking liver, like, holy shit, that's crazy. And then we moved on to Lauren Murphy versus Barb Hornchak, who Lauren Murphy won via split decision. I actually missed this moment, but I know a lot of people were pointing out that, like, Daniel Cormier after the fight, and I seen Daniel Cormier apologize on Twitter. That's what also pointed this out to me. Daniel Cormier, I guess, whenever Lauren won, was like, Barb, like, how do you feel about the victory? And she was like, my name is Lauren. So Daniel Cormier came out and apologized. But yeah, pretty funny story there. But then the co-main event of the night, man, one of my favorite fights of the night, which also spiraled into an interesting turn of events. Sean O'Malley defeated Ware via unanimous decision. That was the fight I was probably looking forward most to of the night, both cards. Sean O'Malley, I saw his first fight. Well, the first fight I saw of his was on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. I know he had another viral knockout before that, but I just didn't know of Sean O'Malley before the Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. So with that being said, man, I was looking forward to this fight. Sean O'Malley was hyping up his fans, which one of before the fight. He said he was excited. He said he didn't know what he was more excited to smoke. Ware, this joint, which I thought was fucking hilarious. I reported on it. Sean O'Malley, of course, is a rising star. He knocked out Alfred, I don't know how to say his name, like Kashakan, on the Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. He knocked him out. It was a great performance. He had fucking Snoop Dogg going crazy, like, O'Malley, O'Malley, O'Malley. I'm sure a lot of other people were going crazy, but, you know, they had the Snoop cast on, so that was fucking funny. It reminded me of Daniel Cormier, Thug Rose, Thug Rose. You know, it was just that type of knockout. You know, Sean O'Malley gained, you know, a big following after that. He's one of the most popular fighters, definitely one of the most popular prospects after that moment. Then he came out, had a strong performance. I celebrated the performance with a video, as you would expect, as a huge Sean O'Malley fan. And then none other than the defeated Ware came in the comments and called me a fake bitch for saying that he got smoked. Yo, it was harsh words. I had to keep it respectful, of course, as I would do with the professional fighter. I respect all these guys. Did he step a little bit out of line by calling me a fake bitch? Yes, because I was just celebrating a win of Sean O'Malley. I'm a huge fan of him. Sorry for being a little bit of biased, because yes, I was rooting for Sean O'Malley the entire time, and it was great to see Sean O'Malley, even though he didn't get the knockout, man. He came out and showed he got a decision. He showed that he was able to, you know, he showed his heart. He showed he was able to pull through and get a. Some people thought he was fading out in the second round, and he came through, got a second win. And I just, you know, I was fucking excited for the moment. Came out, did the thing. Ware came, called me out. I responded to that, and that's where that is. I don't plan on fucking messing with that dude. I did do a fantasy fight. Somebody requested it, and it was pretty funny. It's just a comedy skit. So, I mean, it is what it is on that situation. Definitely respect to Sean O'Malley, who showed respect to Ware on social media. They both fighters showed each other mutual respect on social media after the bout, which you would expect. You know, that's common. And I fucking even liked and retweeted that shit before all of the fucking shenanigans, but somebody didn't see that. And you know what? I'll just leave it alone. Actually, you know, I'm just gonna say this last comment, man, because some people are taking it out of line. I've seen somebody who's been in the comments for a while. Hey man, watch your back. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? It ain't that serious. As I said, I kept it respectful. All I did was say the word smoked instead of defeated, and in that, I realized afterwards, Ware himself, I almost did a video on this. Just, you know, I do videos whenever people like talk trash on other fighters. And Ware was like, yo, Elon Musk, fucking Francis Ngannou was the first person to send a man to Mars, with all the laughing emojis talking about Francis Ngannou sent Alistair Overeem to Mars. It's like, yo, now what if Alistair Overeem commented on that fucking post and was like, he didn't send me to Mars, you fake bitch? Like, yo, you see what? That's exactly what the fuck happened. I used hyperbole, which you did in that same post. So, I mean, I understand, though. He was a little, you know, he lost the fight, one of the biggest fights of his life. But he came at me. I fired back. It's all good though. It's all love. I'm still a fan of Terrion Ware. Shit, I'm looking forward to his next fight. I wanted to see this fight. I was actually a little, I don't want to say scared for Sean O'Malley, but when I was looking at it, I was like, yo, Sean O'Malley with his hands down a little bit. Terrion, the Flash, Ware's nickname is the Flash. Dude's experienced. He's 17-5, so Sean O'Malley might have his hands full. So I was proud of Sean O'Malley when he came in and got the job done. Meant no disrespect, but with that being said, it is what it is. Let's move to the main event, the inaugural women's flyweight title fight. Nico Montano, who defeated Roxanne Modafferi via decision. Was it unanimous? I believe it was. I don't know. It just says via decision on here for some odd reason. But it was a fun fight. If I'm remembering correctly, it was cool and stuff. But I mean, the elephant in the room to me was Nico Montano, who did win. She moved up to 4-2 in her professional MMA career. But this is the inaugural 125-pound women's title. Now, this title, I mean, we know there's killers who are ready to move into this division. Valentina Shevchenko specifically, who I think is going to be the queen of this division. But we've also got Jessica Andrade, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Paige Van Zant, just other killers that are ready to move to this division, and they're all going to be looking at Nico Montano like fucking prey. So Nico Montano's going to have her hands full. Congratulations to her for sure, though. Big moment, becoming the UFC's inaugural 125-pound women's champion. So that was cool. She beat Roxanne Modafferi, who took the fight on sort of one day's notice. Roxanne Modafferi was originally scheduled to face, I believe, Barb Hornchak or Lauren Murphy. She was supposed to be in that fight, but you see, Jara Eubanks had to pull out due to being hospitalized for a bad weight cut on one day's notice of the title fight. So Roxanne Modafferi stepped up and out of her other fight stepped into that fight, and she did lose via decision. So that was the Ultimate Fighter Season 26. Now let's move quickly to UFC 218, because I know I've probably been going too long, but I wanted to cover all of this because it was a great weekend of fights. And one fight I have to talk about on UFC 218 that's not on the main card, which is, you know, generally what I'm just going to go over, is the fucking fight of the year as far as I'm concerned. And I just even, like, I've went back and thought of, you know, you always have to check yourself in the moment. Like, yo, am I just saying this in the moment? Charles Oliveira, or Alex Cowboy Oliveira, man, both the Oliveiras fought on this fucking card, so that's confusing as fuck. And it was like the co-main and the main. First it was Alex Cowboy no, it wasn't the co-main and the main, but either way, both Oliveiras fought on the card. They both lost, but either way, Alex Cowboy Oliveira versus Yancy Medeiros. Actually, I'll say he didn't lose. Neither one of those fighters lost that fucking fight. That's a fight for the ages. That's a classic. That's a fight of the year. That's beating Michael Johnson versus Justin Gaethje. Michael Johnson and Justin Gaethje was a great fight, and I will say it's runner-up for fight of the year. But this fight right here, yo, the Michael Johnson Justin Gaethje fight, I went back and watched it, and it's still great. But once you know what happened, it's still kind of like, you know, okay, it wasn't as action-packed as when you saw the finish and stuff, and in the moment it was like, yo, this fight was amazing. It was still an amazing fight. You know, Michael Johnson dropped Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje came back, got the win, dropped Michael Johnson and stuff. It was still a great fight. But this fight, Charles Oliveira versus Yancy Medeiros, god damn it, I'm gonna keep saying that. Fuck. Alex Oliveira, I'm just gonna say Cowboy Oliveira versus Yancy Medeiros. Oh my lord, if you missed that fight, I don't want you to watch any other fight. Just go watch that fight. I'm telling you, you don't even gotta watch. Well, you gotta watch the Ngannou knockout. That shit's crazy. But I'm telling you, I would literally, if somebody came up to me and asked, what would I rather suggest to somebody, I would rather somebody watch that Charles Oliveira Yancy Medeiros fight than that Ngannou knockout. Now I know a lot of people would rather watch the knockout because it's a lot quicker, but yo, all three of those rounds were action packed. I mean, it's too hard. You really not even words to describe that fight. You just have to watch it. Fight of the year, back and forth, both fighters getting dropped, both fighters showing heart, both fighters, man, it was just a great fight. Yancy Medeiros came out and got the finish in the third round, but boy did fucking Cowboy Oliveira show his heart. So did Yancy though. Cowboy came out putting the pressure early, man. It was just such a great fight, man, and it was on the undercard. Fight of the year for sure. I gotta watch that fight again soon. I mean, I'm surprised I haven't watched it again already. That's the type of fight it was, I'm telling you. If you haven't seen it, Cowboy Oliveira versus Yancy Medeiros gets my vote for fight of the year. That shit was amazing. and it just set the tone for the night, as Yancy Medeiros is Max Holloway's Hawaiian brother and shit, you know, coming through. They like to fight on the same cards. Max Holloway's been pushing for UFC Hawaii, and it's like, even when Yancy Medeiros may be the underdog in some of his fights, when he's fighting on the card with Max Holloway, and this is just from my personal like perspective, what I've seen, it's like he always comes through, represents for Hawaii, for Max Holloway and shit like that. And they also said, you know, he like trains with Nick Diaz's camp and shit like that, so that's dope. But Yancy Medeiros, though, he fucking took the 50K bonus away from anybody. I don't think the fucking fight card was so stacked all the way through. So many great fights. Book to Brawl, Justin Gaethje, Eddie Alvarez, Francis Ngannou, Alistair Overeem, Holloway, Aldo too. So many finishes on the night, but still, nobody deserved the $50,000 more than Yancy Medeiros and Cowboy Oliveira, the performance bonuses. That was dope, bro. So I'm glad that they got him. Max Holloway in the post-fight press conference was like, you know, he took my 50K, man, but, you know, he definitely earned it. You know what I'm saying? It's fun, the little rivalry they all got and shit. But, yeah, that was fucking dope. Great way to start the night off, set the tone. And that was before the fight press prelims, you know, which interesting in itself. I thought the Angela Magana like nip slip was kind of gonna be viral after, but so much shit happened, so much shocking shit, like that is just nothing. Even though it happened to Angela Magana, you know, who was kind of like a heel in the MMA community, people don't like Angela Magana. So the fact that you know, MMA karma kind of came around and that shit happened, I thought it was gonna be a big deal, because it was the most exciting, as far as, you know, the most shocking part of the fight pass prelims. As up to that point, I started watching like 2 fights in. I was like, yo, what the fuck? So I reported on. That was before all of this shit. That was before Yancy Medeiros, Cowboy Oliveira. That was before the pay-per-view. That was before everything else. So after all of that, that definitely stole the show. That's not even a side thought at this point. I don't even fucking care about that shit. That's not even something to laugh. There's just so much shit that happened, bro, that's like monumental. That's just like minuscule to even think about at this point. So after Yancy Medeiros, Cowboy Oliveira, dog, let's go to the pay-per-view real quick. The UFC 218 results. I mean, I'll just read the undercard results, because there was a lot of great fights on the undercard and some controversial moments. So Fight Pass prelim started off. Justin Willis defeated Alan Crowder. Big pretty Justin Willis via first round TKO. That I didn't get to see that fight, as I said. You know, I tuned in at like the Octagon interview of that fight, but Justin Willis scored a first round knockout. Cool post-fight Octagon interview, said he was taking the heavyweight division by storm and shit. Shouted out his boy. That was dope. Dominic Reyes then submitted Post Malone. I was joking. I was saying Jeremy Kimball looked like Post Malone, because he actually does. And he walked out to the song Congratulations by Post Malone, so I'm sure he's got that before. But yeah, Dominic Reyes got the submission in that fight. First round, rear naked choke, 3 minutes 39 seconds in. Next fight, there was a little bit of controversy. Abdul Razak Al Hassan defeated Sabah Hamasi via first round TKO. It was definitely an early stoppage, in my opinion. Herb Dean was the referee, and Herb Dean had a little controversy on the night, but as I said, any of that stuff that might have been a headline the next day all got outshined by the results of the fights. I mean, everything that happened after that was just put that all minuscule. Everything that might have been normally a headline was minuscule compared to the results of the nights of the fights. The fights spoke louder than any of that shit, which is always dope to see. So a little bit of an early stoppage, but Abdul Al-Razak, you know, he had a good post-fight speech where, you know, let the crowd know, you know, that wasn't my fault. I was just fighting. The ref stopped, said I gotta stop. The crowd was on his side. You know, you could people understand that wasn't on him. Herb Dean thought he saw something, and actually whenever you looked at the replay, the guy actually did get dropped, but from a lot of camera angles and first look, it looked like Sabah Hamasi just kind of like fell or slipped or something. But when you looked at it from a perfect angle, he actually was dropped, but he immediately started to kind of shoot for a single leg and kind of recover. But Herb Dean's the fight, so little controversy there. But moving to the next fight, Amanda Cooper defeated Angela Magana. Of course, the nip slip happened to that fight. Amanda Cooper also notably like kind of ragdolled Angela Magana. The fight was very one-sided. Angela Magana lost her 5th fight in a row, I believe. It was a second round TKO. It looked like she was almost, well, no, it looked like she was kind of gonna tap the strikes a little bit. I mean, Amanda Cooper was putting a beating on her. Either she was gonna tap the strikes or the ref was gonna stop at any point, but she didn't end up. The ref ended up getting in there and stopping it. So I mean, it was definitely a one-sided fight. Amanda Cooper was at home. So with that being said, moving to the next fight, Felice Herrig defeated Courtney Casey via split decision. It was a good fight. It was a emotionally, charged striking affair. In the third round, both girls got a little emotional, both flipping each other off a little bit and talking a little trash, but it was a fun fight. Split decision for Felice Herrig. David Tamor in the next fight defeated Drakkar Klose via unanimous decision, and that was the other fight where Herb Dean kind of stepped in, and it was interesting as hell to me. Herb Dean gave David Tamor a warning for backing up, and it just looked like footwork. It was the first time I personally have ever seen a guy get like a warning for footwork. It was like I don't know what the hell was going on there. I mean, my cousin said he's seen it like one time before, but for me it was just like Herb Dean, it's Drakkar Klose's job to close the distance, you know what I'm saying? Herb Dean warned David Tamor, and it was like early. I don't know. It was just a really weird situation. I know a lot of people disagreed with it, but as I said, Herb Dean's still one of the best referees in the business. He had I don't know if Herb Dean was on the herb that night or what was going on. It was early in the night. That's a joke, but still, all of that was outshined, as I said, because the next fight of the night was Yancy Medeiros versus Alex Cowboy Oliveira, which was a third-round TKO, but was fight of the year. I've already spoke on that fight, but it was fucking amazing. Yancy Medeiros got the win. Moving to the main event of the undercard, Paul Felder with a second-round KO over Charles Oliveira. Oh, so it was the co-main in the main event. Yeah, the Oliveira's. That shit is confusing as hell. Why would they do that? But anyways, Paul Felder defeated Charles Oliveira via second-round KO. Paul Felder's part of the UFC commentating team, and he's going to be commentating at UFC Fresno next week. Coming out the octagon, right back to work. Paul Felder, he's good at commentating, and he showed he was also very good at fighting when he beat Charles Oliveira, who is, a very good submission specialist. He submitted bigger dudes than him before. Paul Felder said he could tell a little bit, the size difference, as Charles Oliveira has previously fought at featherweight. But with that being said, Paul Felder got the big win. So let's move to the main card. UFC 218 pay-per-view opened off with Tecia Torres defeating Michelle Waterson via unanimous decision. It was the only oh no, it wasn't. I forgot Henry Cejudo, Sergio Pettis actually went to decision as well. Very forgettable fight, but we'll get to that in a second. Tecia Torres went to unanimous decision with Michelle Waterson. It was a good fight. Tecia Torres is looking for a trilogy with Rose Namajunas, the current champion. The Tiny Tornado Tecia Torres with a big win at UFC 218. Eddie Alvarez versus Justin Gaethje, that fight delivered, but still, I mean, people were expecting this to be the fight of the night. The Cowboy Oliveira Yancy Medeiros fight stole the show, but Eddie Alvarez versus Justin Gaethje, Eddie Alvarez came out and shut a lot of people up. A lot of people thought Eddie Alvarez might not look the same after being knocked out by Conor McGregor at UFC 205, especially versus undefeated Justin Gaethje, who was the human highlight reel coming in. He said, either I'm getting knocked out or I'm knocking you out. Justin Gaethje delivered. Eddie Alvarez delivered. Eddie Alvarez came in, got the big win over Justin Gaethje at UFC 218. Now let's move forward to Henry Cejudo versus Sergio Pettis, which was a unanimous decision. Henry Cejudo pretty much outclassed Sergio Pettis. I mean, as far as the wrestling is concerned, the striking, Sergio Pettis was probably getting the edge. Henry Cejudo, though, just is an Olympic level wrestler who just relied on that when he needed to lay on Sergio Pettis and kind of just grind the fight out. It wasn't like he was like doing much posturing up and landing a lot of ground and pound down there. He was kind of just, using his wrestling to get the unanimous decision. Somewhat of a snooze fest. On to the next fight. Francis Ngannou versus Alistair Overeem by first round murder. I mean, knockout. I mean, holy smokes. Francis Ngannou versus Alistair Overeem is insane. That fight stole the show. I mean, as good of a fight as Cowboy Oliveira fucking Yancy Medeiros was, it's insane to think that Francis Ngannou's first round knockout almost stole the show over the entire weekend. This fucking dude, Francis Ngannou, is looming over this division. This dude, Francis Ngannou, is looming over this weekend. Francis Ngannou's knockout punch is going to be talked about for a long time. This dude knocked Overeem stiff. Holy shit, I predicted Alistair Overeem to win the fight. I mean, I knew he had the chance of getting knocked out if he got touched, but That fucking punch would have literally knocked out anybody. That punch would have knocked out Mark Hunt in his prime. That fucking holy shit. It don't matter if you've got a chin, you can have the best chin in the world. If you get touched with what the fuck Francis Ngannou hit Alistair Overeem with, you're going down and you're going stiff. And holy smokes, that shit was crazy, dog. I cannot wait. Man, going into this fight, I was like, even if Francis Ngannou wins it, are you gonna pick him versus Stipe? Well, with a fucking knockout like that, it's like, I don't know, can you pick Stipe now? I don't know, that's crazy thinking about it like that. But Francis Ngannou just came out and definitely made his stake for the next UFC heavyweight title fight. Can't wait to see that. He said, hey, I'm not injured. You know, I'm ready to go as soon as the UFC's ready to go, as soon as Stipe's ready to go. So can't wait for that fight. On to the main event of the night. Max Holloway defeated Jose Aldo via third round TKO in a fight that was reminiscent of the first fight. That, I mean, literally the exact same way. Jose Aldo looked a little good in the first round, even brought back his leg kicks, even though it wasn't as one-sided as the first fight in Jose Aldo's favor. Max Holloway said the plan was, we know he can't swim in deep water, so let's take him there. Took him to the third round and finished him with the TKO the exact same way. Started looking good, started feeling comfortable, getting in that blessed matrix, you know, he puts his fucking hands up and shit, like, alright, let's go and shit, looking like a motherfucking bird, some type of fucking bird and shit. I don't even know what type of bird, like a vulture. This nigga be looking like a vulture. He's even got the wings on his back and shit. He also low-key looks like Timon from fucking The Lion King, but that's another note for another day. Max Holloway came through, defended his title. First time the UFC featherweight title was defended since like 2014, yo, because we know Jose Aldo was out for a while before they fought Conor McGregor. There was the interim title. There was fucking Conor McGregor, who didn't defend the title, tied up for a while. Then there was a lot of shenanigans. So Max Holloway was the first person to defend the featherweight title successfully in almost 3 years, which is great to see. Titles getting defended, and he said, yo, if Conor McGregor wants these hands at motherfucking lightweight, I'm going up and giving them to him, but he's got to say my name. I'm not begging for a fight. That's 12 fights in a row with Max Holloway. He said, I want to show these people how to do it. I want to be like Demetrius Johnson. Contender pops up, I knock him back down. But I'm also young. I'll also go up weight divisions. How can you not love Max Holloway, man? Turning into a young star by himself just with this win. You can't deny the wins. He said, I had to fight 10 fights just to get an interim title shot. Then I defeated Anthony Pettis, former lightweight champion, and then I still had to fight one more fight to to fucking unify the belts versus Jose Aldo, and now he's got his first successful defense. And he was also, unlike Conor McGregor, gave Jose Aldo the rematch and beat him, and also defended a title, unlike Conor McGregor. So Max Holloway doing his motherfucking thug dizzle. Love Max Holloway, one of my favorite fighters, one of the best champions of the UFC. Great way to cap off the night. Definitely didn't steal the show, of course, because of everything that happened, but it was just like a great fucking way to cap the weekend. Max Holloway defeating Jose Aldo via third round TKO, continuing the campaign for UFC Hawaii with a performance by Yancy Medeiros like that. How can you not go to UFC Hawaii? You know what I'm saying? Max Holloway continued the campaign in the post-fight speech, so it is what it is. I just want to see you. I'm not fucking from Hawaii or never been there. I'm just saying I want to see UFC Hawaii for my guy Max Holloway, who's been campaigning for that shit since like 8 fights into his win streak before he, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, that's the UFC 218 weekend results recap. We covered a little bit of Bellator 189, covered the Ultimate Fighter Season 26 finale, man. It is what it is. If you're still listening, much appreciated. Thanks for listening. Let the full-time family know what the fuck you tap at in the comments. I'm out.
Da 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 da. It's the motherfucking DOWG.